Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, as always, Chad Bordeaux, and joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
Good. We know it's Tuesday, but very good reason for it not being Monday.
Well, I mean, we
Oh.
have reasons. I don't know if they're good reasons, but we're here, and that's good enough. And it worked out because we get to talk about Raw's porn. So, that's dope.
X.
I half expected to see Vince Russo come out with low key Elite Skipper and Christopher Daniels because they were known as Triple X in TNA. So we weren't on. We didn't do a show yet. The last 7 days, and obviously Jay Briscoe passed away. Um, so that's awful. I'm no fan of the man, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm devastated. But a lot of people are, and I'm gonna respect that. The dude had his issues, but to those that knew him, apparently he was overcoming them, and I think that's a noble thing. We all stumble on the way, but we can also always do better. So I appreciate that people seem to think very highly of him. Um, his brother is gonna wrestle on AEW tomorrow night. And even though I'm not a fan of Jay Briscoe, to find out that Warner Media blocked him appearing on TV because of his anti-LGBTQIA plus, just fucking pick a shorter name. God damn. Comments from a year ago, from 10 years ago, was disheartening considering Dana White's slap league exists and Dana White exists,
After Dana White's personal slap league exists.
right? So hypocrisy. Thy name is you. So I don't know. Warner Media used to be one of my favorite outlets. The WB back in the day was my jam. I fucking love that channel. But yeah, they've gone from producing great quality content to being just giant cucks of the industry. So fuck them. Like Marcus, I said this to you before, and I'll say it again. Like, if Marvel buys DC, I ain't even gonna care. Like a decade ago, that would have sent me into a shame spiral that I would never have recovered from. Now I'm actively rooting for it because I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been this disillusioned, and that even with all the years of just the tumultuousness since that when everything kind of got started in that summer 2013 with Man of Steel up until now. It's so weird how everything happened, and um, yeah, I'm still rooting for him. I just it's kind of like being a DBZ fan still at this point. Like new transformations are coming. It's kind of hard to care because at this point it's like it's just changing colors at this point. It's like hair color changes at this point, but you still watch because it's nostalgia. But yeah, wanna be that sucks. When it comes to Jay Briscoe thing, looks like you wasn't necessarily a fan, but very much got to watch that hell of a reign he had as always world champion. Those all them years back. Feud with Adam Cole and all that, and yeah, him and his brother pretty much ran Ring of Honor. No doubt that move on the industry, one of the best tag teams of all time. Not an extensive list of actual brothers in terms of tag teams in the industry right now, anyway. Um, and yeah, great tag team, great on your own. You just hate, even if you don't like somebody, like you said, or not necessarily a fan, you hate to hear stories like that, specifically when it involves children. Um, but thankfully, I did read some good stuff about improvement towards his children's health after said accident. So that's the silver lining in all this, and it's always cool to see this industry that we watch oftentimes kind of fall in on itself, kind of come together the way that they do in moments like that. So yeah, RIP.
Yeah, apparently his oldest, I think, had some issues with her legs after the accident, and she's apparently regained feeling and motion in them. I think the
Yeah,
youngest one is was physically very beat up, but otherwise I think she was fine.
yeah,
I haven't seen anything. Those are stories I don't pursue because on the off
yeah.
chance they take a turn for the worse, like
Hmm.
we already deal with enough negativity, and like that would just be just an unnecessary amount of pain to deal with. Because like two little girls
Hmm.
just get hurt in a car accident that, by all accounts, weren't their father's fault. Like it's just it sucks, and like
Yeah,
I consider pro wrestling part of the combat sports sphere, and the
yeah,
combat sports sphere for the last 4 weeks have been just destructive. Former UFC, Bellator, and Impact. I don't want to call him a star in Impact because he just kind of did some cameo stuff. But Stephen Bonner committed suicide, I think, or he died of an undiagnosed heart issue, I think is what it was. And then you had Angela Lee, I think. Is that the? I don't think it was Angela Lee. Angela Lee's the older sister. Victoria Lee. Victoria Lee apparently may have committed suicide, and she was an 18-year-old MMA fighter out of one championship. Now, that's speculation. I want to be clear about that. That's speculation.
yeah,
But the wording from Angela Lee, the older of the three Lee siblings, made it seem like, reach out to those in need kind of thing. So, like, there's an illusion there. Then, of course, Dana White slapping his wife. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Dana's wife slapped him first. Well, Dana yanked on her first. Like, I'm sorry, but if you yank me, I'm going to introduce you to my knuckles. Well, actually, I'm going to introduce you to, my palm, but still, like, don't yank me. So, like, I feel like people are overlooking that. And it doesn't absolve her because, like, you don't put your hands on your partner regardless. But, like, two wrongs don't make a right. But a right will get you on TMZ, apparently.
yeah. And you watch the video. It doesn't seem like that was the first time that kind of situation happened.
Nope.
Um, and it's just first off, it's wrong. Period. But then certainly from a PR perspective, just that incident alone is trash. Then to follow it up with said man in this climate that we living in socially, um, to follow it with a um, slap league, it's just it's just don't even try to pick those dominoes up. It's done. Like it's the shitty picture has been painted.
I will point out that the slap league had been introduced before, but it aired after the wife slapping incident. So it's not like
Yeah,
he slapped his wife and like I'm gonna start a slap league now.
yeah,
No, I those two things were unfortunately either poorly or well timed, depending on how you want to look
yeah,
at the situation.
yeah.
So it's been a rough few weeks for
Yeah.
the combat sports community. So let's shift gears a bit. Talk about some Raw is porn, Raw Triple X, Raw XXX, Raw NC-17 over here. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, let's bring some joy to the program. Hulk Hogan kicked off the show.
Well, we can negate that right away by saying Ernest the Cat Miller debuted in Impact this past Thursday.
Ah,
So like that was great. He debuted because he's a former WCW commissioner, and he showed up to help Santino get acclimated to his new DOA role, which is ironic because that was actually Dusty Rhodes' title in TNA, the Director of Authority. So I find this the circular motion of this or circular motion of
yeah,
this
Dick.
just
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. I mean, look, I still got to watch the full F before this Thursday's Impact, but I dig it. Anybody shout out to Mickey James? I know we didn't necessarily like the results of Hard to Kill, straight up and down, but I appreciate anybody that gets to stand up to Bully, who unfortunately is still a thing. Uh, following the show, I thought he was going to be a one-off, but yes, not. But yeah, and then apparently they put on another hell of a match. Uh, I guess of the year between Kenny and Bailey, so I got to see that. Um,
Um, Yeah, the Kenny King Mike Bailey pit fight match was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really think they have something with Kenny King for the first time by making him like a pit shoot fighter kind of guy. They could call him what is it? Pit King Kenny or something like that, or Combat King Kenny. I think if they went in that direction and really made that like the source of his gimmick, I think that would stand out because like his gimmicks have never been good. When he was in Global Force Wrestling, not the TNA version. And granted, understand I understand that his tag team partner in this situation it will not have aged well, but he was a tag team wrestler with Joey Ryan, and Kenny King used to be or may still be a Chippendales
Chipping.
dancer,
Hmm.
and Joey Ryan was a sex pest, is a sex pest, will forever be a sex pest. So I feel like their tag team of being like male, I don't know if they were strippers or like male escorts or something, but they had like that male vibe, that Chippendales vibe. That was like his best gimmick up until this
It's
point.
it's weird because now I'm thinking about the gimmick. I'm like, Joey Ryan's the sleazy a-hole sex pest that's at the door, overcharging chicks and checking them for stuff at the door, and then after they're they've been violated, they go in the club and then they get the proper Magic Mike treatment from King. But it's a thing. They're a tag team. Like they get you at the door and then he gets you. Like it's just weird. It's ugh.
So seeing um, Kenny King be like a pit fighter, I think that's the way to go, personally.
That's
That
okay.
being said, let's talk about Raw is porn. The segments that I thought stood out the most were none of them. They all disappointed me for some reason. Uh, Apparently, Paul Heyman really hates Sami Zayn, and I don't know if that's like a Hebrew Syrian conflict brewing in front of us, but Heyman really hates Sami Zayn. That whole segment I thought was like really stupid because like it all started because Sami Zayn wasn't at ringside on Friday. That was the whole issue. Like Kevin Owens beat up the Bloodline, but Sami Zayn wasn't there, and I'm like, oh okay. Like yeah, now we're
It's
gonna have a
it,
trial because Rikishi and company didn't show up.
it's been the way it's been mounting issues of him not like he's been definitively straight up and down 100% somebody they could count on in every aspect except around this Kevin Owens thing. He's been wishy-washy. He's not been pulling the trigger. He's been lackadaisical. Um, he's not been the Sammy Uso. He's not been as Usi as he's needed to be when it's coming to this Kevin Owens things fully. And that doesn't please the tribal chief because when you know uh, one of them looks bad, it all reflects on him. So things have been mounting, and like you said, however it was supposed to go, I guess people didn't show up or wasn't going to show up, and then this ended up being a thing, and it probably turned out for the best because it's probably one of the best segments, going to be one of the best segments of the year, certainly in recent memory. Not that that's saying much, but yeah, I thought it worked because it was as good being on the rails in terms of execution as the segment that they had on SmackDown last year when he broke everybody. So as good as that segment was for being off the rails, is as good as this one was for being on the rails. Because to me, if anybody in this segment was off at all, it wouldn't have worked. Like Solo just standing there, no selling everything, waiting on orders, not even looking at everybody, just staring off into the distance, waiting to get the acknowledgement from Reigns to go do the spike. Jay, after all, Jay needs to be considered for these Oscar nominations that's going around for the turnaround that he's had with this whole thing. So they tell him some good stuff. It works for me because the fortunate part is they've been the only thing that's been working uh, really in the company. That and finally seeing Drake or L.A. Knight back on his own doing his stuff on the mic. But yeah, that segment in particular, I thought really went well. Because, like I said, it only worked because everybody, was on their post.
I will say this. I think one of the issues I had with the segment was that Roman Reigns still has not become a good talker. And I think part of the issue is like his facial reactions, and now some of this has to do with the promo writing, I'm sure, but like when they show these four vague moments, 7-8 months apart, despite the fact that we were all there for Survivor Series, it's like, really? Like we knew that he had some commitment issues, which is why he did the Survivor Series stuff. And now he's still in doubt. Like it kind of doesn't make sense. And it's all because of like paranoia, but it's not being addressed. Like the paranoia of Reigns and Sami Zayn is clearly there. And it may be a factor into how they're playing up these storylines. That Reigns is maybe paranoid that Zayn has the popularity and he doesn't, or that maybe he eventually wants the title, and maybe he's afraid that because he's not blood, he'll eventually come for it. But like they're not playing it up, you know. And if they did, it would make more sense to why Reigns feels all of a sudden that after 1 week of not being there, that now it's time to hold a trial where Zayn was going to have his throat impaled by a thumb. Like, I feel like if we actually started to look at some of these details, like it doesn't track, and like that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the details and it don't track. Now I don't know if this is not
It,
being played up by Reigns, or if it's not being played up by the announcers, or if there is no paranoia subplot and it's just bad writing.
man, I think, I mean, you touched on a point, but I think that's almost the point of it, and it only works even better if, because like you said, Reigns is, look, he's not, this ain't high level thespian stuff. I think the highest in terms of his acting has come, and like I said, this whole Tribal Chief thing is really been a saving grace for his career after how he got pushed all to hell as a face that nobody wanted at the time. I think a lot of his saving grace came in the earlier parts of this when it was just him and Jay. And now that everybody's kind of been brought into it, and like you said, Sam is taking over the spotlight. It is a lot of paranoia because of at this point he needs them because he almost lost it to Brock. He almost lost it to KO once. He's about to face him again now with potentially him having this guy on the inside. Because to your point, it almost might work if he was paranoid about losing the title to Zayn if he hadn't already beaten every other Goliath in his path. It's not even believable that Zayn could beat him. But with the paranoia thing, it works, and it works even better because Paul's gaslighting him, which I think he did to perfection in the segment. But it almost, to your point, and I almost wish Paul was somebody else because it almost comes off like the underlying thing. It's because I'm green, isn't it? Like because he's not Samoan ultimately. So it don't like he not really blood, which is the whole foundational point of it, which KO was like, dude, they could put they could put pictures of The Rock, Alpha, Sika, Rikishi, Rosie, and all the other Samoans on a literal bloodline photo on your back, and you still wouldn't be family. And I think he's starting to see that. So it work. I think I get why it works for a lot of people, but also get why it doesn't work for you because it's too many conveniences that have to work. You know.
For me, I think it has to do with the fact that they're not really hitting these notes. Like, yes, the whole idea that Kevin Owens brought up with you're not really family, that works, but there isn't a flip side of that. We went through months of you need to earn your spot, you need to earn your shirt, and he earns his shirt, and then it's like, oh, all right, but you haven't earned your shirt. It's like, wait, what? Then what was the last 4 months for? And I feel like if there was more of that being discussed on the blood side of things, then that would make more sense. But up until this point, like after the Jay forgives Sammy and Survivor Series, and he gets his honorary Uso shirt and all that. Like you thought that Reigns had cemented him as part of the group, and now it's like, oh no, Paul convinced me otherwise. And it's like we're hot shotting so much of this, and I don't know why, because they're not gonna have a WrestleMania match. So what's even the fucking point of this? Which is the other thing I want to talk about. Because WrestleMania isn't going to be Reigns versus Zayn, which is what it should be, because, that makes sense. It's going to end up being the Usos versus Zayn and Owens, and I'm just going to sit here and roll my eyes because it's Stardust Gold Dust all over again. So, I don't know. Disappointed, but we'll talk more about Reigns' potential Mania opponent here in a little bit. Other things that happened on this show. The Undertaker showed up. The American Badass. I am American Badass. And it was so bad. They started the song at the beginning, the American Badass song, which is not ever when they started it. They always started it at the build up to the American Badass portion of the song. And that was dumb. And then Taker's bike was sitting in the entryway for a good 5 seconds, not moving. So that was dumb. And then he didn't even get any traction with it. And he just kind of walked it down to the ring. So that was dumb. And he's 35 pounds overweight now, so fatter Taker's in the ring. And then LA Knight's oh, what are you doing? Dummy. Yeah, dummy. And then Bray Wyatt comes out and ruins the segment.
No, it's everything you said. Put it on a shirt. The minute he does stuff like that, and the bike is like, nope, I'm not. You didn't pay me to show up tonight. It ruins everything. It ruins everything because he's already out there as dad by a Taker now. Um, he's not gonna get physical. Uh, and like I said, when he comes out there and it looks like up at the entrance ramp, like they were gonna push him out on the bike, like it stalled on him, and they were gonna push him out. Then it started rolling a little bit. And they're like, oh fuck it, I'll walk it, and he walked it, and then they did the segment, and then it was time for him to kind of roll out. And because the bike wouldn't start, they had to keep the thing on way longer than they probably needed to because he was on the start like, God damn it. And it looked like the dude in the audience was trying to give him tips or something. Like it was not good. I get it, but anytime stuff like that, and that's not the first time he's had bike issues on TV. I remember back in the day he did it, but back in the day it went along better because he was the literal American badass. Now it's like God damn it, Uncle Calloway, Uncle Mark, why did you have to come up with that old rickety bike? So yeah, but thank God for L.A. Knight because he's doing a lot of work in this Bray Wyatt thing.
He's doing all the work. Let's be fair. He's doing all the work. So the other big segment on the show was DX showed up and Kurt Angle joined because Billy Gunn's in AEW. Apparently, Road Dogg and The Undertaker are buffet buddies.
Hilarious.
And then who was it who came out? The Imperium came out, and for the first time in a DX segment in I don't know 20 years of doing these reunion shows, for the first time ever, DX didn't bury a tag team. Woohoo! In fact, they were all like, no, we don't want to get our ass kicked. And then they had Seth Rollins come out, and I'm sorry, I don't know what people are chanting, but they're not chanting. I think that's a dub because it doesn't make sense, and it shows up in odd places. It's like, no, that's not real. This is piped
Yeah.
in.
It's funny. I was gonna make the comparison once because he's on the show every week. So if we talk about it, we have to talk about Rollins, which I know sucks because anything he's in instantly ruins it for you. Which is funny coming off of Bray Wyatt segment, but yeah, I was gonna compare it to the Jericho thing, but you can't compare it because, like you said, it almost comes off piped in where they show the crowd singing Jericho's song.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't. It is, you can't even compare. And then he's there in these erroneous jackets with the boobas and the stuff, and it's just it's bad. The best part about the segment is at least people, a lot, all the people that came out was in shape, even Teddy.
Teddy did the breakdown. Love that. I will say this. I know that they were trying to put over Seth and Private Party. Wait,
Oh Jesus, really?
did I really like?
Really?
What are their names?
For fuck's sake! Oh,
I,
the
I,
damn street profits.
there it is.
Okay.
The Street Pro.
Thank you. Say New Year, and it's not me. Thankfully, yet,
I
not
can
me
tell
yet.
them. Unlike you, I can tell all the races apart. What I can't do is tell terrible wrestling gimmicks that are the same in different promotions apart. I've
Uh,
long suffered from this. I still can't tell the fucking Usos apart. All right.
they're like, which one's got Naomi? Damn it, he's the lucky one. Still a wide open, he's the lucky one. Oh man.
So Street Profits come out.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins comes out. Then Teddy comes out. And I know they were trying to put over the Street Profits and Seth, but the thing that I was really hoping was for them to go, Imperium, you're going to go one-on-one
Yes,
with
yes.
The
That's that
Undertaker.
thing.
And then Triple H would be
Oh.
like, Teddy, he's just retired now. And there's 3 of them.
Do you? That would have been the only actually corny part that actually worked because the whole, oh my God, if only we had somebody of youth to come fight these guys. Okay, Rollins. If only he had 2 more youths to come help him. Okay, Street Profits. The Teddy thing would have actually worked. One, because it's in universe storyline. The way he hold Taker back in the day, just that compilation is hilarious. But it would have absolutely worked. It would have even worked even better if his music would have started and then immediately cut out. Like, no, we don't have the budget to get him out here twice. I know how much we paid for that bike that stalled.
But of course, we can't have nice things.
Yeah, so
We just can't have nice things.
any other cameos that popped up? It's always nice to see Ron Killings. If you got something against Ron Killings, you just an a hole. Not Ron Killings, Ron Simmons. I joined the club that quick. Um,
See what
Speaking of which,
happens? You see what
what the
happens?
freak happened? Like it's I was really talking about Raw, and we don't get Ron Killings. Like he would have been perfect for the show.
He's still out with
Um,
an injury,
okay. I think
and I think it was a
yeah,
leg injury too.
yeah. I think he didn't he have a surgery or something.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, so Ron Simmons that was great. JBL of course. I mean you put one annoying thing with 2 annoying things. I guess on your side of things it'd be like if they paired wide with Rollins. Freaking watching JBL and Corbin all over the place. Ugh.
Are they
All
now like a
right.
real thing? Because he introduced Corbin as his protege. Like, has that been a thing that's been going on for weeks?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't.
Probably longer than that. It's bad. It's bad. It's always interesting saying Ted DiBiase because I never get tired of the laugh, but I always be like, he really be showing up jolly like nothing's going on with the boys.
Like nothing's going on with him either. Like it's not just the
Yeah.
boys that are looking at some charges. And listen, the U.S. government's not fucking around these days. I feel like they're that scene from the newsroom. I'm not fucking around anymore because they threw the Grizzlies in prison.
Yeah, man, and they had been like trying to be on some like Todd Crystal was almost on some Trump stuff for a second. Like, I'm not gonna pay it. Like, no, like you don't get to do that and then keep airing the show. It's
I'm telling
weird,
you.
man. They threw their ass in jail. They got thrown in jail. They threw a couple of them house couples in jail. They're not playing around. Like you don't
So
get to tell us you ain't got the money and we see you making it.
so keep your head on a swivel is what we're saying. But
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to anyone who has to watch Raw on a weekly basis and have to see JBL as part of the regular offering. It is not the way to go. It is not the way. All right. I don't know what else happened on the show this week. So.
Oh yeah, we had I guess some diva deniers.
Yes.
Oh,
So let's talk about the diva deniers. The Bellas. They're all like, "Hey, we were invited to go, but we didn't. Do you want to know why? Because they don't treat the women right." And I'm like, "All right, this was, Becky Lynch or Alexa Bliss, Bianca. Okay, I'll listen." But when it's one of the two biggest blowhards in the last 20 years, I'm sorry. I cannot care. It's like, yeah, the Dana White's bad. We all agree. And then like Joey Ryan's like, yeah, Dana White's bad. And then I'm like, I don't know. Dana White's not that bad.
that's hilarious.
Like the minute one of these two open their mouths, I'm just like, but maybe they had a point to do it.
Cause
Maybe the WWE had a point not to air all this content that you're complaining they didn't air. Now, normally I'd be
jeez.
like, yes. They didn't highlight, a lot of the women's stuff apparently on the show. Although that's not what I saw. I saw quite a great deal number of female clips. So, like, I don't know what they were complaining about.
What? Up, up, like how long were they with the company? They know they cherry pick their own history to serve storyline narratives that don't even make a lot of sense. Like the whole, like they literally sold that Shawn Michaels take a feud. Like at WrestleMania 25, like that was the first time they had fought ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they manipulate their own history all the time. They do that. Like how many times did they put a title on somebody because the company was essentially done with the last guy who was the youngest? Like didn't they do that with Orton and Brock? Like Brock was the youngest. He went on bad terms. Then they put it on Orton
Mm-hmm.
just so they could get the numbers off. Like it's they do it all the time. And the fact that like no, they're not gonna bring up Sasha, even if it's the Triple H era and he's more lax on that type of stuff. They do it all the time. So I get it. They kind of came off like kind of two spoiled brats. Like they know, but they should know better than anybody how that company works. Um, and all it did was just trigger the goofies on Twitter, I guess, to start that hashtag treat the women better. I'm like, this ain't back when like they were having 40-second matches. I don't know what y'all want. Like
I think
it,
part of the problem, Marcus, not to cut you off, but like
no.
there's like the severe issue here is the only reason they have careers in the public spotlight was because the company favored their looks over actual talent. And they're sitting there and they're biting the hand that feeds them. Like they're not talented. They're not good actors. They have no real charisma. The one's known for being a drunk mess, and the other one's known for sleeping with half the locker room. They're not great athletes. They literally only existed for as long as they did because they offered a different fandom perspective with the Total Divas, Total Bella shows that were just absolutely dog trash. And I'm sitting here wondering why they would be so almost. I don't know what the best word to say this. Indignant against the company that made them stars. Like if it was Natalia or Beth Phoenix, Lita, or like Sasha Banks, like yeah, they have a right to be pissed because they're athletes. They are talented. They are stars. The Bellas are one of those things, and they're not athletes and they're not talented. So So it's like if the WWE actually treated women's wrestlers like men's wrestlers, they wouldn't exist in this company. And I find their lack of not respect, but the lack of almost self awareness to be the biggest issue. Like they only fucking succeeded because they were being picked because they had good bodies and a good look. It wasn't because they were talented. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, even though the women have made all these strides, we think that the company is holding back the women. It's like, no, 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 no. You were holding back the women. Your politicking, your constant backstage nonsense, the way you treated one another, who you aligned yourself with in the bedroom, all these things got them on top when they shouldn't have been. So I find this to be disingenuous and done only because the WWE is once again in the public spotlight, so to speak, for being poor because of Vince McMahon's return to the company and his bad behaviors and the constant rug sweeping of all the things he's done to women. I feel like now they're trying to glom on and raise their own profile through the actual tragedies that this company has caused and has looked the other way on. And I find them to be just the grossest human beings alive. And I do not know how Bryan Danielson can be voluntarily married to one of these women. I think they have information on him that he doesn't want public. Because they're just not, they've never come across as good people. Just opportunistic. So, that's my soapbox stance for the night.
Oh, it works, and all they did was gaslight a bunch of people who look to be gaslit anyway, and that's on Twitter. So it's just and often and those people tend to be as I guess hypocritical as the bells come off. Because again, it's one of the things like you said, it does feel like they piggybacked off the whole thing with Vince, like treat the women better. Like we're not in the era of the 40-second matches and the bikini stuff of it all, which considering again that it comes off as hypocritical considering how successful a lot of these women are with these uh, fan pages. You almost think that's what they want back behind closed doors anyway. So it's just all thumbs down.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them wanted that back because it's a lot easier to make money selling your body as opposed to using your body. Taking bumps is not the easiest way to make cash. So I'm sure if you can make $1 million in a month, like what's her face did, Mandy Rose, or whatever that absurd number is, I'm sure a lot of them would consider it. Fame for them is not exactly a tangible singular idea. They'll take any attention they can get as long as they're making money. At least
Yeah,
some of them can.
yeah. I mean, but it does come on like one of them situations where they actually get to have their cake and eat it too. Because as long as they're wrestling, they get to be perceived as like some of the top tier athletes. But with the fan stuff, it's like, well, they only just taking it a little step further from stuff they do on Instagram anyway.
Pretty much. If Instagram and OnlyFans had existed in 2006, 2007, 2008, we never would have had the Divas Revolution. I'm just throwing that one out there. Although Impact would still have a killer women's division, so that's at least something. Although I'm not down with Mickie James being involved with Bully Ray. It makes no sense and it pisses me off.
Yes.
But I'm also still mostly just pissed that Mickie has the belt.
You're like, I'm just kind of still pissed off that she's a thing at all. Though I wouldn't mind her husband coming in.
No,
Um,
I don't see an issue with Mickie being in the company. In fact, like if they went and got Melina and had them be a tag team, I think that'd be dope. The problem is you're moving away from Jordan Grace and Perazzo, and like those are your two top gals on the roster, and Masha's probably a close third or a not so close third, depending on how you want to see it. And I feel like going back to the well with the almost retired Mickie is just like why couldn't Masha be the one to defeat Jordan? Like just some common sense, please. That's all I want from Impact is some common sense booking. But sometimes they don't do common sense booking, so it is what it is. Speaking of it is what it is, you know what I don't want to see? Retire-A-Mania. That's the name of this week's show, by the way. Apparently, Stone Cold Steve Austin, at 58 years old, is gonna be getting it has been offered a title match against Roman Reigns at the Showcase of the Immortals, and I'm sitting here wondering why the fuck.
Looking at you. What? What?
Pretty much. Like I'm good on seeing Stone Cold ever wrestle again. I know everyone's like, oh, his match with Owens last year was great. No, it wasn't, fuckos.
Fuck.
I hate to be the one who says it, but like y'all are getting Force Awakened right now. It wasn't good. It was nostalgic, and your stupid pea brain nonsense said, yeah, that was good. No, it wasn't, fuckos. No, it wasn't.
It wasn't good
It
at
was
all,
bad.
man.
It was
It
dumb.
wasn't.
Dude had to wrestle in jean shorts and 2 knee braces that were super reinforced because he's old and can't move. Oh, but he looked good. Motherfucker, did you ever see him wrestle in his prime? No, you have not, because you would not be saying he looks good. Fuck off.
And to say the whole thing was plotting is being generous.
Man, I have seen sloths die of starvation faster than this fucking match from last year. Jesus Christ. And the thing is, like, I don't know why Tempest exists on Parts Fun Known, because he's terrible. And he's one of those guys that, like, swears all the time, but I bleeps out all the swearing. So, like, he seems like he's cool and edgy, but he's just a little cunt. But he's like, in 2001, Stone Cold was still one of the best workers ever. No, he fucking wasn't. He was never a good worker during his run. Like, y'all need to watch more shit. We say it every week. Watch more wrestling. My God. Stone Cold, after he broke his neck, was bad. I do not care what anyone says. He was bad. He was a shell of himself. But then again, these are the same... I'm trying to think of a fun new word to say, because, grass-eating numbnuts thought that Edge was still a good worker after he broke his neck. Like, he's fine, but if you watch Edge in 2001 and then 2006, you're gonna be like, holy shit, he sucks.
But Chad, he came back and had those classics with Randy.
You mean those classics that made me want to, look into long-term comatosation? Yeah, great. Fucking fantastic. Now listen, I'm fine with Edge existing, but he's a mid-tier, mediocre, average at best worker, and he has been for the last 20 years, because unfortunately when you break your fucking neck, you become very limited. It's not a knock on Edge. When Edge was healthy in like 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, holy shit. Next level. But like, I don't know how deep your basketball fandom and knowledge runs with, but Grant Hill, does that name elicit anything from you?
Grant Hill, yeah.
Edge is Grant fucking Hill. Stone Cold is Grant fucking Hill. Grant Hill in Detroit was like, I'm gonna drop 40 on you, then I'm gonna pull down 20 rebounds, and if I'm not bored, I'm gonna drop 30 assists on you too, all while shooting 50, 45, and 94 from for a game. Like, he was better than, I don't want to say he was better than Jordan, but like, if you put Jordan and him on the same team, no, you're not losing the game. He was better than Pippen in his heyday. He was absolutely better than Pippen. But then his knees were like, hey, Grant. I think it was his ankles too. He's like, hey, Grant, you want to see something funny? No, I don't. No, I don't. Why would you do that to me? And then he became a shell of himself. And then he was like, you'll be lucky to get 13, 4, and 4 with 42, 40, and 30 and 84 splits on him. But he's still like lasted in the league another 10 years after all those, and he played pretty well in Phoenix. But he was not the same guy, just like Edge, just like Stone Cold. And now these are the two dudes that were being asked to carry WrestleMania: 50-year-old Edge and 59-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Chad was like, before he broke his neck, he just had the character of a disgruntled employee. After he broke his neck, he was just a disgruntled employee. Yeah, like that whole thing with Owens, it was carried by Owens, and that's why it worked. Even if you don't like Owens, that's why it worked. And he was probably like a fan the whole time because it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But come on, man. Like, Wise Reigns, like, he already had to have that match with Taker. It's only so much you're gonna be able to do with Brock. Just because I mean, but that's I mean, it's not like Brock is rickety or anything, but he just has a certain type of gear that goes along with it with what he does in the ring. But
Yeah, it's
Stone, come
first
on, man.
gear.
Yes, yes, first gear. But Stone, come on, man. Like talk about not making new stars. Like, ugh.
And that's the big issue. Like we're back to the same thing with this company. They're not making new stars. But then again, who you want to see Austin Theory? I sure as fuck don't. You know, I see enough of him in NXT when he's going by Grayson Waller. So like I'm good on
Her
that.
laugh.
I'm good. Like of all the guys, like I think you got one. You got one guy that in 5 years you could see main event WrestleMania, and that's Braun Breaker. There's no one else. Like maybe Carmelo Hayes can be like a good mid card guy, but like they don't really have depth anymore. Like all their talent are just like athletes from other sports now, and like you're really starting to realize that maybe that's not the best way to go. Is just hiring. Oh, hey, you played volleyball in NCAA? We'll give you money. Oh, hey, there's two of you and you played volleyball. Or you played basketball. We'll give you money. You were an offensive lineman for a D2 school. Oh, we'll give you money. You don't have any actual speaking abilities and you can't cut a promo, and your charisma is an endless void of just depression and soul sucking nothingness. Oh, but you're 6'4" and chiseled. We'll give you a deal. Like this is one of the weakest looking rosters the WWE have had in 20 years because you're over relying on guys who are 50 years old now. And like even the young guys are in their 40s. Like Finn Balor's 42. Like are we all not? Are we all gonna pretend that Finn Balor isn't one of the elder statesmen, but we still treat him like he's a young man because he knows how to dye his hair properly? Like this company's fucked.
Like,
Sorry,
watch your mouth
Finn's
there, Lottie.
41. Sorry, Finn is 41.
Watch your mouth there, Lottie. But yeah,
Dominic
it's
Mysterio is one of the best prospects they got. Think about that.
he just got he just got good after going to jail and charming.
He lost some weight. He's getting his body in order, which is good. But he's still stutter stepping when he's doing some of like he went and did the 619, right? Against who was it? Jimmy or Jay. And usually you go to the right because
Hmm.
your dominant side goes on top. But he did the left, so his left was on top of the rope, and he stopped and stuttered and stalled, and it just looked really sloppy. And like, listen, Dominic's not a bad worker. He's just very inexperienced. Like he's only been doing this for 2 or 3 years, and
Yeah.
and like you can tell that he's inexperienced. Like that was ugly, and I'm just sitting there going like, holy hell, this is one of their best prospects. Besides the duality of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. I've never seen those two men in the same room before. You cannot tell me they are different people. I do not believe you.
It's yeah, maybe they'll have Melo slide up through in the Rumble and then have him they do him as like a male version of what they did with Bianca because I was reading the interview the other day talking about how Rise happened and like somebody had to kind of go to Vince and like because that year she won the Rumble, I think they said Charlotte was gonna go over. Um, and one of the writers went to Vince and was like, "Look, man, like this year's Rumble, you have Edge winning the men's and Charlotte winning the women's. You're not making any new stars." And however that went, they ended up deciding on Bianca, and The Rock has been with her ever since. But I don't know if that's going to be the narrative coming up Saturday, but they need to do something because, like you said, it's shows anniversary shows like this that become so indicative of the narrative that's still there. Like all the youth that they had kind of counteracting the elder statesman that went over on the show. But you still had the end of the show end with how old's Brock? 45?
Lashley's 46.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of like doubles down on the issue. So here's some of the names on the Royal Rumble poster, or at least this Rumble poster that I'm looking at. It's not the official one, but gives you an idea. You have Braun Strowman, who's 39. You have Drew Galloway, who's 37. Karrion Kross, who's 37. Bobby Lashley, who's 46. Roman Reigns is 37. I haven't done any of the women, but I feel like they're not going to be that young either. Edge is 50. Let's see. Ronda Rousey's close to 40, I think. Maybe she's not that close. Ronda Rousey's 35, so she's still on the later side of what we could consider young. Bianca Belair's pretty young, I think.
I
Maybe.
think she's just 30, 32.
She's 33, so she's still pretty much in her prime. Mandy Rose is on this. Wait, or wait, no, not Mandy Rose. Wait, is it Mandy Rose?
No, it can't be Mandy. They just let her go. Who think about? Is
Liv
it?
Morgan.
Yeah, let her live. Love
For,
your tongue.
for the longest time, they've been the same person to me. She's 28. Let's see. I think Becky Lynch is on the other side of 30.
See how old is
She's
how old
35, so
is
she's still pretty young.
how old is Rhea? Because I feel like she's gonna be one of the last ones in there.
I feel like she's pretty young. She might be like 25. She's 26. And let's see. The Usos are pushing 40. Bailey's, I think, 35. Becky Lynch is 35. AJ Styles is like, what, 46?
And he's not even gonna be back in time for that.
He's 45.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, like, you look at the women, they're all right around the age that you would want in terms of prime wrestling. No one's truly over the hill with the women, although you could argue that Ronda's kind of petered out. But when you look at the men, they're all on the wrong side of 30, and they're all getting to be a bit older. Now, some of them aren't that old, like Drew Galloway, Karrion Kross, Reigns and Seth. They're right where you want to be in terms of top guys. But there isn't anyone younger than them. Like, those are also your mid card guys. Like those are the guys that, if they're not headlining, are what you're building the show around. Outside of some of those guys, like, who do you have? Like who do you have on your roster who's in their 20s? Because you gotta remember, like, when Stone Cold won his first belt, he was 35. The Rock was 24 or 25. Brock was 24. Randy was 23, 24. Now, granted, you don't necessarily want to put a belt on 23-year-olds just because they're young, but
Yeah.
you got to have a better alternative than Edge at 50, Braun at 40, Lashley at 46, and Brock at 45. Like, you got to have more than that.
Now, how old exactly is the son of the plumber? He's in his prime as well, right? Because I would imagine
36. I'm gonna say. Let me look up. You mean the grandson of the plumber?
Yeah.
Cody's 37 as well, so he's right in that still prime range, but he's not the young pup anymore. He's the proven commodity. Baron Corbin, I think, is 40. By the way, he's 38.
Certainly looks it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, being associated with JBL is just the dumbest thing ever. I can't get past that. So Stone Cold was offered a deal to face Roman. He's been offered a deal to face Brock. We'll see if he takes either one. Marcus, we all know that Roman should be facing off with Sami Zayn. But if Stone Cold has to have a match, who would you want it against, Brock or Roman?
I'm gonna go Roman because there's a better chance that he's not gonna be in an ER by the end of it. Like, I feel like it's one of them situations where even when Brock's not trying to kill you, he kind of does. Because he's a literal, like, man-sized kaiju, and it's just not going. And, like, if Stone Cold can barely move, it's really gonna look bad against Brock. With Roman, like, there's a lot of swag and movement and stuff they could do around it. He's gonna be talking a lot of trash, this, that, and the third. I just feel like it can work better, but I like your thing better with the Sami Zayn idea of it all, because it could be one of those things where they could bring the thing back full circle of, because essentially you go back to the whole thing. He punked his cousins into following his lead.
Mm-hmm.
He beat both of them up and punked both of them to follow his lead. So, and then I guess they obviously they brought Solo on because he's literal family. But it could be one of those things where this, and I forgot exactly what is Sami Iranian.
Syrian.
This charming bearded Syrian came in and charmed the whole family against this guy, and now in yet another match when he requires the bloodline to help him win a match, they back off from him like the hyenas did Scar, and Sammy takes it off him.
I mean, that's the way to go. but
That'll be the thing. And then in classic old school NXT fashion, Sammy gets the title only to then be backstabbed by Kevin. Oh, because he works better as a heel almost. But yeah, that's practically the way to go. I like that better, but just for safety reasons, I'd rather see Stone Cold face Roman. But it still doesn't make any sense. But that goes to the point of just how they back themselves into a booking corner with having Reigns run over everybody. Like when you have him topple Brock 3 times, there is nobody else. You can sell us on Cody, but you know, just one of them things.
it shouldn't be Cody. It should be Zayn. But, this company doesn't know which way it's going half the time. If Cody wins the Rumble, I'm just gonna stop watching.
Really? You don't think Cody should win the Rumble?
No. I mean, I think it's time for somebody else. After all, I mean, look at what Cody's done. He solved racism. Like, he's peaked. Let somebody else take the reins for a while.
I mean, I wasn't going to say anything.
Yes, I will. Cody solved racism.
I was going to hold it. So, not that far from February. I was going to hold it, but no.
Cody's favorite month. Cody invented Black History Month.
Oh my God.
I need to go back and watch the promo. I never watched the Cody solves racism promo. I hear great things about it.
I know somebody gonna have on YouTube do a really interesting retrospective video of his time in AEW, because I don't think it went at all how people's gonna how a lot of people thought it would. Outside of that, outside of that great phenomenal match he had with his brother, everything after that kind of like, okay, this is not peaking at all. So yeah.
Cody is what happens when you allow the Vanity Project to have control over his Vanity Project. Like, we know Cody was vain as it comes, but like, my goodness, I didn't think he would take AEW into the Vanity Project realm. But yeah, that's exactly what he did.
Me and Chad knew something was up when he kept bringing the dog out on purpose, scaring him with the damn pyro.
He should literally be investigated for animal cruelty, because my God. Only he would do something so repugnant, persistently.
Oh man, but I feel like if it's not Cody, they'll slide it to your other favorites and Seth, because they got to go back to old bag. If they don't do a quote unquote new star to win the Rumble, they got to go back to old bag. Has Seth won a Rumble?
Probably, much to my chagrin. I don't keep track of the Rumble anymore. It's like anything is possible.
It's like the Money in the Bank. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't.
Not anymore. But we're still going to predict the winners. Marcus, hot take. I don't think we should have 2 Rumbles in the same year.
You think they should alternate years? 1 year is to women, 1 year is to men.
Yup. And honestly, if there's some years where the women don't get a Rumble, I'm fine with that too, because the roster for the women's isn't that deep or interesting. Call me a sexist. I'm fine with it, because the women's roster just isn't that good.
It's weird. We just had that conversation about the twins, but I wonder if they take a Rumble invitation.
Oh, they would. They would. We'll give you $20,000 to show up. Okay. Because the Bellas are all about the money.
Yep, he won a 2019 Rumble, men's Rumble. So, but they love a good repeat.
I would rather see, like, if you want to do a women's Rumble, do it in July. That way you could have the winner go on to SummerSlam. I think that works. Or do the women's rumble on like because they did that. What was that women's show they did? Stephanie McMahon invented women's wrestling. Is that the name of it?
We talking about the Evolution pay per view?
Yeah, that's what it was. Wasn't that in January or like November?
Something like that. I want to say.
Do that. Like have a women's Revolution show or Evolution show, whatever the fuck it was called, and have the women's rumble there. Because having two rumbles in one night or having two rumbles that close together in general, it's just there's a reason why the rumbles suck now. And it's not because they're being booked poorly. It's because there's so much at once and we're being inundated with way too much of the same nonsense. Like you cannot have a rumble match on a rumble match in one show. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work with two elimination chambers. It doesn't work with two war game matches. It doesn't work with two Money in the Banks. You need to have one of these per show, not two. And I know some people may go, well, you liked Lockdown. Well, Lockdown was different because every cage match was different, especially in the first year. In 2005, you had a steel cage tables match. You had a steel cage six-man tag. You had a steel cage traditional match. You had a steel cage, I think there was a blindfold match in 2007. So like you had varying, I think there was a street fight in one of them. It's like they always found a way to make the steel cage match interesting, even if it wasn't just your standard steel cage match. And the idea of the steel cage almost became as part, of the concept of a wrestling match, no different than a ring. Like, oh well, all the matches happen in a ring, and then you just add the element of the cage. So it's like, oh well, all the matches happen in the cage. So it's not necessarily all cage matches. It's like an MMA fight. There's just a cage there. And it's how you use it in all the other variant match types that make it interesting. Like Jeff Hardy jumping off the cage onto Raven through four table. Like, that was cool. But to have the same match type with the same spots, gimmicks, ideas, and idea or theories thrown into it, it's like, well, what's the fucking point? Like, you're seeing two matches back to back that tell the same story.
Yeah, it's also weird too because not only have they hold so many of these match concepts from a quantity perspective, they also effed off the narrative repeatedly with these matches. There's no point in the steel cage. It don't keep nobody out.
No. That's why you gotta put barbed wire around it and a ceiling.
And even then, even then, like it don't work. And then so now you see these matches so many times on a year for feuds that don't call for them. And it's just an exhausting thing. Well, nothing like you said. You do it. If it's everywhere, it doesn't mean anything. So, and then if you're supposed to have the Royal Rumble supposed to be this great thing, but then you got to please the Saudis so they get the greatest Rumble of all time, or whatever you named it. And it's like you're not doing yourself any favors, and because you're now having to put so much of this inclusivity of it all, or should I say equality. Now everything the men have to do, the women have to have one. But to your point, these type level of matches should only call for with the best of feuds. And if it's the women, give it to them. If it's the men, give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this gets more people on the show. And it doesn't come off like they're mistreating the women so they don't get a hashtag trending for a week. So, but again, everything's been hold. Nothing feels special because everything's been done all to hell, So.
And that's why these levels have fallen off. Simply because we've seen all of it so often. There's no variety. There's no uniqueness to it. It's just it's becoming all very much the same thing, and we need to change things up.
It's also speaking like that other point I made about the whole just the whole narrative of the thing. Why have somebody win a rumble and then have them if it's a guaranteed spot? Why do they have to put it on the line on the way to WrestleMania? Why is that always a thing? It's supposed to be a guaranteed locked in spot. That makes the whole concept null and void. If somebody comes out the next week and challenges them for their spot because they don't think they deserve it.
It's nonsense. Nonsense, I tell you. Marcus, who are you picking to win the Women's Rumble?
I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Rhea.
I'm gonna go with Raquel. So we're both picking the tall chicks.
Nice.
I mean, maybe.
Ain't go wrong. Yeah,
Wait,
hard.
Raquel's engaged to Braun Strowman? Jesus Christ, she has no taste. All right, speaking of no taste, let's talk about the men's rumble. We all know who it should be. The man who was never eliminated in 2011 in the first place, Santino Marella. Well, I mean, he was limited, but he wasn't for the longest time. They missed a prime opportunity in that year, by the way.
There's also not. There's actually a second man that was never eliminated.
Paul
And
London. No, test.
no, R.I.P. Curtis Axel.
Scotty Too Hottie.
Ah,
All right, so we have like no one announced yet. Like
yeah.
Kofi, Santino, goddamn. Santos, Escobar, Ricochet, Austin Theory, not Grayson Waller, Seth freaking Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin, Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Cody Rhodes, almost, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Braun Strowman, and Karrion Kross. Talk about almost right there. Karrion Kross almost became a star. I think people realize that he's not that good in the ring, and he's very limited with his personality.
Yeah, it's to the point where even Ryback's tweeting like, "We know why his gimmick's working."
Yeah, yeah. No one has any doubts about it. It's
You,
working because Scarlett Bordeaux is
you,
sexy.
you know how bad it is when you can't argue with him on Twitter. Like it's not good. I don't know where. It's just it's all bad. Well, speaking of, she wrestled. I think recently. You think she get thrown into the? Well, I would imagine she does just for a body count. But
Maybe. I
yeah,
haven't seen her wrestle in a long time. She was not a very good worker. She's not very athletic, so I don't know how far she's come or how hard she's been working on her craft. But she's one of those like if she can get good with
yeah,
her look and her charisma, because like that's the thing. Like Scarlett Bordeaux is I don't know the Mr. Anderson, Mr. Kennedy of women's wrestlers. Like if she can figure out how to work, she has no ceiling.
hmm,
Like she's fantastic as a personality, as a look. She's got the sex appeal, but as a worker, she is bad, or at least was. I have not seen her wrestle in 4 years, so like I do not know. Like the smoke show stuff, like in 2018, 2019 with Impact was like really the last time she did anything. And
yeah.
she wrestled who? Raj? No, was it Disco or Raj? Raj
It
Singh.
was disco.
So like that wasn't a great match, but like she showed off some stuff. It was good,
Hmm.
for what it was. No one's gonna be sitting there going, that was the greatest match ever. That's Impact's. What was it? What did Ariana Andrews say? Like Melina,
Yeah, and Alicia Fox.
like Alicia Fox Melina match was like what got her into wrestling. Like Disco and Scarlett is the one to
Uh,
one there.
yeah, that was so hilarious because that was the one time Stone Cold didn't say what, but his face did. It was hilarious. Oh, yeah. But speaking of the women, real quick, do you think they bring Naomi back, and do you think she enters the Rumble? And if she enters the Rumble, does she win?
No, she's not gonna
Mm.
win. Naomi is a very limited performer. She's a great in ring hand. Like she's the kind of a person you want if you're doing like a heavy show with a lot of women's wrestling. Like you want Naomi to have a good 15 to 20 minute match.
Yeah,
Like if you're doing a Evolution, she's your workhorse, so to speak. But I've never thought Naomi had much of a personality to carry a division. But then again, they don't have a lot of women who can. So I don't know. Maybe.
yeah. When you call for Raquel, I'm like, I'm like, what's her gimmick? She has great back muscles.
She's tall.
Yeah, I think
She's
she's.
taller than, or maybe she's not taller than, but she may be as tall as Rhea. And like Rhea is wait, Rhea is only 5'7"?
She almost looks taller than that on TV, but then again, it's TV.
Or is that just kind of a joke? Because I thought she was like 6 foot. Everyone was always talking about how tall she was.
It's weird. She almost looked bigger when she looked normal, like when she was back in the Mae Young Classic. And she just looked like this really big girl next door chick with the blonde hair. Um,
Well, because like Swish was always like, Rhea, step on me. And I'm like, all right, that's fucking weird.
wait, what? Okay, Swish. I didn't know this out of.
So like,
Uh,
I always thought she was like, she's like a little bit taller than us. Some say she's 5'8". I don't know. I thought she was a lot taller than that. I
how
guess
old
we'll
is?
find out if see like one of the wikis lists her at 5'10", which is closer to what I thought she was. But I
Hmm,
don't know.
interesting.
I don't know. Anyway, men's winner. I hate the Rumble so much these days. I'm just gonna pick something dumb out of spite. I'm going with Omos,
Oh my god.
just because I want this concept to die a death.
This content.
Kill the Rumble.
Oh
R.I.P.
no.
2023. Do it.
Uh, oh, that's hilarious. Let's see. Men. I was gonna say Shelton. Shelton just looks like he's in his 20s. Um, let's see. So man, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I guess conventional wisdom goes with the, like you said, the grandson of a plumber.
All right, you're going with Cody. I think Gunther should win. He's one of those guys that you can actually build around.
Oh, so do we think they throw a solo in there and have him come? Well, if they throw solo in there, I think he'll come down to one of the final ones because they're not ready to go there with him yet, obviously.
They might. I could see it. I think Sami Zayn's going to be in it. If Sami Zayn's in it, he's my pick. But
Zayn's been punked into showing up to the show for the Roman match. So I don't know if they're gonna have him pull double duty because the whole narrative around this, the only real narrative story wise on the show is really with the whole uh tribal
bloodline.
of it
Yeah.
all. So yeah, so but that would be interesting though, because like what if Solo or Zayn won and now you got the tribal tree basically trying to punk them out of their shot? Like you're not gonna do this, right? What you trying to come for the head of the table? The tribal team?
Only one way to find out. Tuning in Saturday and finding out. All right. Muta had his last match with Pro Wrestling Noah. Sting and Darby Allin showed up. I thought this was his last match. I did. The show is called Great Muta Final Bye Bye. You gotta love Japan. They are not afraid to try some weird shit. So I appreciate that. But we will actually have another Muta match. It's going to be Muta versus Naito. That's going to happen next month in the Tokyo Dome on the 21st. So I guess there's that. I don't know though if it's like if Muta had his last match, but Keiji Muto has not, because Keiji Muto is his real life name. So I think that might be with the difference here is Great Muta has had his last match, but Keiji Muto will have his last match in February. So we'll find out about
That's
that.
that's a great way to do that. Because we may be in the near Sting's run, but he's not gonna be like no Sting retired, but Steve Orton still has a freelance contract.
That
No,
Marcus, that literally already happened.
Vegas.
I am not screwing with you. In 2006, when Sting signed his first contract, like his first full time contract with TNA,
Oh my God.
He wrestled his match at Final Resolution against Jarrett and Monty Brown. He and Christian Cage were on a team. Sting wins, and then like the next night or the very next Impact, Sting's like, "Yeah, I only did this to retire, to have one match and to go out on my own terms." Because at 46, he was he was feeling pretty done. If only we knew 17 years later. And everyone's like, "Oh no, I can't believe it." And then for the next 6 weeks, Alex Shelley stalked Sting. And then Sting finally approached Shelley outside of his son's high school because Shelley had stalked him to his son's high school football field. And Sting goes, "You tell Jeff Jarrett that at Destination X, Sting's not coming back. Steve Borden is." And then he showed up without face paint and wearing like an Under Armour shirt, and then he beat up all of Jarrett's goons. And then Scott Steiner showed up. Oh, it was a thing. It was a thing that happened. But Marcus, that isn't the only thing to do with Japanese pro wrestling these days. Muto's going to have his second retirement match. But Gail Kim wants to have a crossover with Stardom on pay-per-view. Is this something that you would be interested in seeing?
You said with Impact and Stardom?
Yeah, it'd be the Knockouts and Stardom.
Hey man, look, everything's the whole Forbidden Door concept ain't. I don't think it's just obviously relegated to AEW. I think it's industry wide, and I think these companies are greatly benefited from always greatly benefit from working together. I think that'll be a brilliant idea. I think you can put the Knockouts against most women's rosters, and it'll be great. I just think that's territory that I think Impact would greatly benefit from. Knowing if somebody like Gail Kim, who I would imagine doesn't just carry great respect over here, if she could broker that deal, if I'm Scott D'Amore, I'm like, look, here's the rocket, go, because I'm sure the women be geeked to do it. But one small thing, if they could leave Jessica at home.
Yeah, we don't need to see her ever again. And like the saddest part is like her name, Jessica. I dig that. Like I'm a fan of wordplay, but I'm also a fan of talent. She doesn't have any. It's like I'm good.
Ah,
I will say that speaking of talent, apparently, and I don't mean to spoil the show for you, but the Hex of the NWA fame, they're coming to Impact, or in their case, coming back to Impact. So,
the Hex.
Marty Bell and Allison Kay, aka Sienna.
I don't mind it. We needed I don't mind it. Need to kick up some momentum with that tag team of it all. Um,
That's what I'm saying.
and they've only gotten better being as a team than they ever were divided. So um, I dig it. I like it. That's I just saw that I don't know exactly what's going on with in the NWA. So it's so easy to tune out of it these days. I wonder why,
Well, they
but
don't have a world champion.
like at all, like,
I'm just pretending
like
it doesn't exist.
faking wins again. But yeah, I seen that. Why am I blanking on Brown's girlfriend's name? Um,
Oh,
Camille.
yeah, I was about to
Uh,
call her tall chick. So yeah, I'm glad you
oh,
remember.
chick number two. Camille basically put out a thing saying she'll come defend her title, NWA title anywhere. Which is another reason. It's like, why did you put the damn title on James? Do you know how great of a match that would be between her and Grace?
Even if I don't know, it'd be a great match, but just like the forearm shivers between the two.
Sean Shivers defeat a strength with Grace flexing because I'm like she don't got show muscle, she got go muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of them things like that'll be cut. To Camille showing off her strength. How many times have we seen a woman spear somebody like Grace? Come on, man. That match sells itself, but we won't see it.
Nope.
We won't see it.
Nope. So that's disappointing. But hopefully we get to see this. They already did a women's show 2 years ago in 2021. It was also kind of a memorial show for Daphne Unger,
Yeah.
who had committed suicide just prior to the show, like a few weeks, I think. Is it Daphne Unger? I don't think that's right. Her real name is Shannon Spruill. Who's Daphne Unger? Oh no, I was right. That was once her name. Okay, never mind.
Daphne. You're not talking about Daphne, are you?
Daphne from WCW, Screaming Chick, then in TNA. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. I don't know if it was in WCW or not, but her name used to be Daphne Unger, Unger.
Gotcha.
So I think that's because she was married to somebody. I think. I don't remember. I have no idea. Anyway, so yeah, I want to see another women's all women's show because the last one in 2011 was or 2021 was great, but most of these names you won't see again. Lady Frost is gone from the company. I don't know where Renee Michelle is right now. I don't want to see Chelsea Green ever again. No, thank you. Mercedes Martinez is with an exclusive deal with AEW. Brandy Lauren is doing her thing on the Indies. Tasha Steele is still with the company. I don't even remember who Jamie Senegal is. Pratt's still there, so is Masha Slamovich. This is before Masha Slamovich debuted. Because this is a pick your poison match. And Mickey picked Masha Slamovich, who was not part of the company at the time. Rachel Ellering is gone. Savannah Evans is still there. Kimberly is still there. No, Kimberly is not still there, although I think she's still under contract. Alicia Edwards is still there. And then you have the main event was Decay versus The Influence. And Madison Rain and Neil Dash are both gone. So, yeah, you're going to have to get creative with some of the some of the matches and where you get. And it's not like you have a lack of good, talented women. I think the issue is you have a lack of good, talented women with name value. I think that's the reason why it'd be hard to pull off another Knockouts Knockdown with the current structure, especially with the shambledness of NWA and the. I don't know what the fuck's going on with AEW, but it's
Yeah.
lame.
I'm like, man, is Garrett still out there going around Santana?
I think she may have retired. She,
Always sucked. Was always popping up and never really seemed like she found a home. But nobody ever really wanted to give her one. I don't know.
I think part of the issue with Garrett was she never had the personality or the gimmick to kind of sustain that.
Yeah.
Hell of a worker, like always
Yeah.
a good hand. Okay, she's not technically retired. She was working up through December, so she's still active semi regularly. And maybe she was hurt for a while because she didn't wrestle between February and August of 21, and then she was off from July to November of 22. So maybe she was dealing with injuries, or maybe she got married, or I don't know. She did have a world title match in January of last year against Deanna Prazer for the Ring of Honor Women's title. So, I mean, Garrett would be a nice name to see come back, but again, that's one of those like she would need to really up her look and image. I think. Speaking of looks and images, can Cody Deaner go back to being fun, cool, quarantine Cody Deaner? Because like I'm not buying 145-pound Canadian dude leading the cult. I'm just not. What I would believe is a 285 behemoth and Brian Cage leading the cult. Cult of Cage. Cult of Cage. I fucked that up. Cult of Cageanality. There it is.
Complicated.
So Brian Cage's contract is up within the next few weeks. He may resign. He may go to the WWE. He could go back to Impact. He may debut in MLW. Who knows? God, I hope it's not the NWA. Although they could use him. Marcus, would you want to see Cage leave the AEW and go back to not maybe go back, but debut in a new promotion maybe, or go back to Impact if need be, or go to Japan? What would you like to see Cage do next, assuming he leaves AEW? Or do you want to see him stay in AEW?
It'll be interesting seeing if he leaves, considering the fact that he's technically a champion right now.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's not enough for him. Maybe it's a little too late for him, in his mind anyway. Um, I feel like seeing him in Impact. I doubt he goes back there, but I don't think they left on bad terms. I think it'll be interesting seeing him in New Japan, because that'll bring a different level of competition, a different it ups everybody's game one way or another, and I think that'll be our first time really seeing him in that environment in a significant way. So that, but then again, that's a lot of time away from the family. Um, I would imagine travel still a whole other issue over there. So, but he could do a brief stint. So, but then MLW is also an option. So we'll see. I don't ever think we'll see him pop up in WWE, but we've seen stranger things in this last decade. So, but I probably say New Japan. If I had to throw something out there that I think would be the most interesting choice, that's just me.
So we will see how that turns out in a few weeks because Cage is going to be a big time free agent. Speaking of big time free agents, and this is the last one of the show, TNA, way back in the day, apparently tried to hire Bill Goldberg. Jeff Jarrett spoke on his recent podcast episode about acquiring Goldberg's services in TNA. Goldberg basically said that Dixie and the company wanted him more than he wanted to be in TNA. And this is not a surprise. We've actually talked about this a few years ago when we were talking about the All Wheels Wrestling promotion that never got going. Bill Goldberg was supposed to be the presenter and host of the show. And it was going to be on the Speed Network, and it was going to be a subsidiary of TNA Wrestling, Six Sides Ring, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Sheik Abdul Bashir, and I forget who the fourth guy was. Were going to be the cornerstones of the roster, and they're going to bring in some heavies and stuff. I think who was it? Jesus. I think Jesus was in it. Fresh off his stabbing of John Cena.
Oh my God, which is funny because apparently, so I read somewhere that the new WWE 2K's its career mode is supposed to be exclusively around John Cena's most notable losses.
Please, dear God, tell me Jesus is going to be a part of this.
Because all I could immediately think about was the one that always soured on me was like that Carlito thing. Because again, like you said, he got stabbed. Quotation marks. That's not cool.
He spits in the face of people who don't want to be cool. Talk about a guy who never returned to the scene in a major way after leaving the WWE. And like he still wrestles, Carlito.
Mm-hmm.
So, Goldberg and TNA. Marcus, any thoughts?
It would have been interesting, but like because we talked about it, man. It's not too many people for as much crap as people to continuously try to give Impact. It's not too many people that folks like now that didn't pass through the company. Hell, didn't even Okada come through Impact at one point? Obviously, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the thing. So you know that would have been really interesting. He would have been like, imagine the era where we had Goldberg, uh, with Monty Brown.
That would be
That
fun.
would that would have been fun. But I just because all I'm thinking about is that entrance coming out the tunnel.
Oh, that would have been so with the little sparklers coming down and
Yeah, you see him coming through because they always did the great shot of them coming through the tunnel and then did the front shot for the. God, I miss those entrances. But yeah, that would have been sick.
Goldberg's gonna be a free agent here soon, as well, if not already.
Goldberg gonna be a free agent. That is so funny. 2023 Goldberg gonna be a free agent. Love it.
I'm just saying, if Goldberg is, if he does hit the market and there's some interested parties and Impact somehow gets some, I'm not gonna hate it. Even though I'm sitting here saying, yeah, can we not have Stone Cold in the main event of WrestleMania at 58? I'd all be about Goldberg at 56 showing up in the main event of Bound for Glory. I'm a hypocrite. I'm fine with
Well,
that.
well, taking it back old school, we have Sting doing his last run of matches in AEW, and Goldberg pops up out of nowhere for
No,
a last. He's like, no,
no.
no.
I love Goldberg. I love Sting. And in 1999, they had my favorite terrible match of all time at Slamboree. But Sting's 63 and has a bad neck. No, thank you, Marcus. No. Gonna have to kibosh that one, my friend. I can't risk it. Sting's too important to me. So if there's ever any conversation needed about who is top tier on my fandom list, it's Sting, and it will never have an equal. There will be many people vying for two, but one is a cemented place. Although, if Goldberg makes a Santa Slay 2, we can revisit this. All right, Mark, is there any final thoughts on anything?
That's all for me.
I'm sure you have some stuff coming up on your podcast, your other podcast, The True Penny Show. Any fun things from GLEAT?
Yeah, we're probably gonna be doing another GLEAT show coming up. Got the exact number. We'll be on the lookout for that. You know, GLEAT's one of the most consistent companies right now, and it's free on YouTube. So check it out if you get the opportunity. Like Chad said early in the program, this is why we tell you to watch more wrestling. So yeah, do that.
So Marcus can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid. He has another podcast. Sorry, I didn't let you do your thing.
Oh, that's me.
There it is. That's the kid. If you want to follow him on Twitter, ParadoxKid, his other podcast is The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow on the Twitter. Just look it up at The True Penny Show. Or is it The True Penny Show or just True Penny Show?
True Penny Show.
So it's just at True Penny Show. Check that out. They got other stuff. You know, they cover a lot of international wrestling, so they're good for a listen. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut, ChadSphotoHut. The website's realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're also on Twitter at NERDCorp. Marcus, any final thoughts? No? Maybe?
No, hope you guys have a good week. Well, like I said, watch more wrestling. Be kind. Hug the ones you love. Never know when how life goes, you know.
Don't just be kind. Rewind as well.
Yeah.
Those DVDs and internet videos got to start someplace. Start it at 0. So, yeah, that'll be us. That'll be it for this week. Next Monday, we'll be back. We'll recap the Rumble. Rumble Saturday night. Enjoy. It's going to be a thing. We may do the show on Sunday or Tuesday because I have Monday planned, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, for Marcus Green, I'm Chad Portal. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.